The weather was great in October, so Roger said, let's ride back up in some of them areas. We rode up that way, up that creek bed away from our camp, which was probably a couple of miles. As we came around, there's a big downfall tree with a root system in the dirt, like a crow's nest, logs jammed together. As we came around that, then, of course, the horses just blew up, and this thing was standing right alongside the creek, on the opposite side of the creek that we were on. It was massive, and the commotion of trying to get the camera out of the saddlebags while his horse was jumping around. I was watching the creature, and it was walking away. Well, by the time we got the horses kind of settled down, and Roger ran across the creek, and Roger had the camera to his eye, and then he stumbled kind of and fell down on his knees, and then he got back up, and he ran over to a log that was a little ways away and stabilized himself on the log. And at that time, I rode across the creek on my horse and just sat over there. The creature makes a slight turn with its shoulders and kind of looks back. That's when I rode across the creek on the horse. That's when it made that gesture. So I was looking at it from the back. There were some trees or vegetation that was getting between Roger and the creature, and he wanted to get a better and closer, so he relocated, and when he did, he asked me if I would cover him, which meant get the rifle and see, you know. And there was no intent to shoot this thing at all. Then the creature just kept right on walking.
At the time, it was hard for Gimlin to determine just how large the creature was, but he did find footprints.
And people asked me, well, what do you think it weighed? And I thought, well, it takes a big man to weigh 350. So I said, oh, probably 350 pounds. We weren't here when they got an impression gauge, and of course they estimate after that it was 700 or so pounds, or, you know, it was tremendously heavier than I'd thought.
For the past 40 years, the best evidence for Bigfoot has been the footage shot by Roger Patterson and Bob Gimlin in California.
When I got to see the film, yeah, I was really relieved to see that he got that much, because Roger said, I don't know, Bobby said, I'm not even sure that I got any film footage at all, because he said, I fell down, I got relocated, and then I got relocated again, and then I ran out of film.
For the first time, the original 16mm film is being examined on a microscopic level. Researcher Owen Caddy used a digital microscope to take pictures of individual frames of the film. Joining Caddy is Dr. Darius Swindler. They are viewing the comparisons for the first time. They look first at the leg for any detail that might be compared to the Skookum cast.
That one's sort of interesting, but here's where they start to get really pretty interesting.
Unfortunately, it's too grainy.
So Darius, you can see here on this image, it's just the full color image digitally pulled off the film.
But as they focus their attention on the subject's head, they make an amazing discovery.
And as you look at the enhanced one, you can see the level of detail has been pulled out. And you can
get individual parts of the face.
Yeah, you can resolve the individual parts of the face, the nostrils, the mouth.
When the original film is blown up to a headshot of the creature, the image becomes just a fuzzy blob. But when the enhanced digital image is blown up to the same size, the new details emerge.
You could see the eyelids move up and down. That's muscle there around there, the circular muscle called the orbicularis oris. Particularly well developed was the masseter, this big muscle over here that moves the jaw.
And this is the most interesting sequence of the mouth opening and closing. What's interesting in that it shows the movement of the mouth and the sides of the face and the lips. So there's quite a bit resolved, and there's actually a lot of detail that is consistent from frame to frame, and you get a consistent facial morphology looking at multiple frames. People have often thought of the film subject's mouth as being higher up than it actually is.
And you see how that can happen too.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, here's a picture of Pan, a chimpanzee. And you think that the mouth is actually where this dark line is, but it's actually below that in the deep shadow. There's a similar analogy here. Yeah.
That's a good one. Comparison.
Bob Gimlin, who is the only living eyewitness from that day in 1967, is certain of what he saw.
I was watching the creature and it was walking away, but I could see the face real good and I could see the eyes.
The digital view of the original Patterson footage did not reveal any telltale seams, zippers, or other evidence that would point to a man in a monkey suit, but rather seemed only to reinforce the eyewitness testimony.
Somebody once told me, you know, you never use a bigger hammer than you need for the job, and I imagine if they're going to film with 16mm, they're not going to be concerned with details that fine. I don't think anyone would have anticipated the ability to come back 40 years later and do photo enhancements to show details this great.
I really regretted that I was there and saw it because of the ridicule and because of my wife being upset at me and practically thinking about divorcing me because of the thing, you know, and the people saying they faked this and faked that, and you know, and it bothers a person. There's no way it can keep from bothering you if you've got a conscience.